Welcome to our channel where we are talking about equipping Christian women to thrive in faith, health, and family. My name is Caroline, and I'm here with Julia, a licensed mental health therapist, and Dr. Eden, a gynecologist. So we're excited to talk about a really hot topic today. We are going to talk about gratitude and mindset. So to open us up, I would love for you guys to tell us about yourselves and then why this topic of gratitude and mindset is so important to you.
Great. Well, I'm Julia Mateer. I'm a licensed mental health therapist, and I've been in private practice for close to 20 years now. And gratitude is a mindset. It is one of those things that can actually change your mood for the day, and it can change the atmosphere in your home, in your marriage, in your work environment. So gratitude is so important as a Christ follower as well. The gratitude I have for what Jesus has done for me, when I can sit with that then and be in his presence and focus on gratitude, it really does change everything.
That's so good. I'm Dr. Eden. I'm a board certified OBGYN. And for me, gratitude it's a choice. I can choose to have gratitude, and gratitude starts on the inside, but then it overflows on the outside of my attitude, how I feel even, and that is really connected to physical health too. If like gratitude can give someone more energy, like it really is all connected, our mental and our physical health. And that's just one of the most important ways I connect to Jesus and I praise him is by thanking him for what he's done for me. And that's step one of surrendering my day to him in the morning is gratitude.
So good.
That's awesome. Yeah, gratitude is a choice. It's a spiritual discipline. That is wonderful. So tell me, how does gratitude impact your emotional well-being and your mental health?
That's a great question. Again, gratitude is a mindset. And so when we choose to focus on what is positive, when we choose to focus on those things that we're grateful for, it really releases the neurotransmitters and hormones of dopamine and serotonin in our brains, that those are the neurotransmitters and hormones that are connected to happiness. So when we change our focus from those things that are less than or negative or hard or difficult, and choose to be grateful, even in the midst of a challenging season in your life, it really does impact our mental health, the mood, but it also impacts our physical well-being.
That's powerful. I feel like there's just a whole downstream effect of gratitude. Gratitude makes me not focus on me so much anymore. And when dealing with anxiety or depression, you look inward. It's an inward or just any kind of stress. And gratitude makes me look outward, if you will. And that's emotional and mental health all in one connected. So gratitude's even a treatment, if you will. Like really, if you can sit down and make a gratitude list, sometimes that's extremely easy and sometimes it's really hard depending on the day. But the discipline to do that, and I think the word discipline is really important there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
What about you?
Yeah. I think for me, being grateful can be really challenging. I think it depends on the season of life. The harder things are, the harder it is to be grateful. I will often have to physically make myself write it down in my journal because I have such a hard time going from these are the bad things in my life, this is what I'm complaining about right now, to, well, this is what God's done in my life and he is faithful and he has answered prayers. So for me, it's a challenge. It's a discipline, depending on some days it's like, I'm the most grateful person in the whole world. I've got praise music on, I'm dancing around. And some days I'm like, man, I can't catch a break. And I feel like I've got a cloud over my head. So when I start my day with gratitude, I feel, sometimes it's hard. It doesn't always come easy, but there's a shift in my emotions, almost just like I go from like you said, being inward focused to outward focused. Sometimes that's easier said than done, but it definitely makes a difference. So
I think too, for myself, I tend to see the glass half empty versus the glass
Mm.
half full. That's the way I'm bent, and I know
Mm.
that about myself. So this year, I've been very purposeful about choosing gratitude. As you
Mm.
said, Dr. Eden, it is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so on my desk, I've got a jar, and next to the desk,
Hmm.
I cut up strips of paper, and every morning before I start my day, I write down just something quick that I'm grateful for, whether it's I'm grateful for the cool breeze because we live in Florida. It's so nice to have a reprieve from the weather, or I'm grateful for purposeful work, or I'm
Hmm.
grateful for the moments I had with my daughter last night, or whatever it is. And it's amazing how that has shifted
Mm.
my outlook.
That's good.
So it's putting something that's theoretical,
Mm-hmm.
that's a spiritual, into an actual practice.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it is a spiritual discipline.
Yes.
That's so interesting. I think this week, what keeps coming up for me too is words in the words we say. And it's not making a gratitude list, but our words can shine if we're thankful
Hmm.
or not.
Yes.
And the words we say build our kingdom, if you will. So
That's good.
Wow. The words we say build our kingdom.
mm-hmm.
That's excellent. And while we're on this topic of shifting from negative to positive internally and externally in our words, how does that change our relationships with the people around us? And how does that change our perception of ourselves?
That's a great question. I think for all of us that work or we have teams, if I'm leading a team or leading my children
Mm-hmm.
or in my marriage, and I come in and I'm grumbling and I'm complaining, that sets a tone and an atmosphere.
Yes.
But if I come in and I'm focused on those things that are good and lovely and pure, and I'm speaking those things, again, that changes that relational atmosphere. It just creates an atmosphere, I think, where people feel more safe and
Mm.
wanting to engage.
I love that. The more safe. Yeah, that's so true. And I think that if I'm coming into the day, into my family, or into the workplace with an attitude of thankfulness, um, everyone notices it. It just sets a tone, whether I want it to or not, unfortunately, because if it's a day where I'm choosing not to be thankful, it's setting not necessarily the best tone. But I feel like my kids notice, my husband notices. If I'm not in a frame of gratitude in my thoughts, it makes me feel disconnected from my husband. I, of course, automatically feel disconnected from God.
Mm-hmm.
So, step one, gratitude really just connects me to God, and then the fruits of the Spirit can flow. But I can't really do that if I'm disconnected.
It's good.
Yeah, excellent. Now, from a physical health perspective, and maybe Dr. Eden, you can speak to this, how does gratitude affect our physical health or a lack of gratitude?
So, someone that is in choosing the gratitude, that's how they're going through their day. Things the stress on their body is just automatically so much less, because stress in itself, hormones are absolutely affected by stress. And mental health, of course, affects your whole body, whether you eat, your blood pressure, your cycle for women. Everything is affected by stress. How many times have you heard a woman say she tried to get pregnant for a year, and then she finally relaxed and had fun for a weekend and went on vacation or something, and then they got pregnant? Why is that? Everyone's heard that. But I just think if you are having gratitude, it somehow like relates to peace. Like you just take a deep breath because you're not focused inward. It's all about, it's Jesus.
That's good. That's so good. It's amazing. It almost sounds cliche when you can say, sometimes it can sound, well, just be grateful, just focus on gratitude.
Right.
But when you hear what Dr. Eden says about the importance of that mindset, how it affects everything within our physical bodies and also our mental health, it's amazing how if you shift to gratitude, it can decrease your symptoms of depression,
Mm-hmm.
and it can actually elevate your mood. And
Mm-hmm.
so it really does permeate all aspects of our lives.
Yeah. Now I have a question. Is being grateful ignoring the bad in your life? What if you're in a season, you're grieving, you've lost a job or a family member, and someone says, well, just be grateful, you have things to be grateful for? What would you say to that person?
Well, I am a big proponent of sitting with someone in their pain
Mm-hmm.
and in their grief. So in that moment, I think that would be an inappropriate
Mm-hmm.
statement to say to them. Um, but what my observations have been, that when people have gone through extremely painful situations, whether it's a loss of a spouse or a child, that for those that are on a, I don't want to say a less painful journey, but a healthier journey, they're they get to a point where they're able to shift their eyes to those things that are good and those things that can bring them joy, and they're able to speak to that more than to the loss.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, there's a shift in that grief journey where you come out of that fog and you're able then to say, life can be good again.
Mm-hmm.
I can have friends again. I can engage life. And when I've seen people choose to still remind themselves that God is a good God,
Mm-hmm.
it shifts their grief journey. I have noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's powerful. I feel like the importance of discipline, if we're just circling back to it, if you're in a good season, that's the time to create the foundation um, of gratitude and praise so that when it is a hard day or a whole season for something more intense, like what you're talking about, my hope is that we reflex to what our
Mm-hmm.
disciplines have been. And I have not gone through that recently to say that I've experienced recently, but that's my hope. My hope is when the trials come, I just reflex back to what I do. I played tennis in college and I hit so many tennis balls. I served so many tennis balls, probably
Mm-hmm.
like millions of serving tennis
Mm-hmm.
balls, so that when I was tired, when I had played tennis for 8 hours
Mm-hmm.
and I was at the end of the day, but I needed to still step up, I didn't have to think about it. You just reflex
Yeah.
into it. And for me, that's my hope.
Mm-hmm.
It's the point
So
of
good.
memorizing verses, all
Yes,
of it in the
yes.
season that's good, so you can
Yeah,
prepare for when it's hard.
that's
Wow.
wisdom. That's
Mm-hmm.
wisdom.
That's excellent. So, in closing, while we're on the topic of reflexes, what are three practical tips you would give women to practice gratitude or to start developing those habits of discipline now in their daily lives so that inevitably when trials come,
Mm.
they reflex back to the gratitude? What would you recommend?
So, three super practical steps, I think, is to make a daily practice of writing down at least one thing you're grateful
Mm.
for. I think focusing on those scriptures that speak about being grateful in the midst of really difficult seasons in your life, and keeping your eyes focused on Jesus. So, I think starting your day with that
Mm-hmm.
mindset. So just to repeat, starting your day with that
Mm-hmm.
mindset, focus on those scriptures and writing down those things that you're grateful for.
What about you,
Oh,
Dr. Eden?
that's good. You're giving me good tips. I'm taking it all in. That's so good. So I love sticky notes.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So, and then we also use dry erase markers and we write all over our mirrors and sticky notes everywhere. And it's so cool to be able to write verses or what we are thankful for or what he's done for us on our mirror, because that day it's like, whatever he's doing, there's no way I'm going to forget it. But 2 days later, you forget. So I love that. And then anytime God has really come through in any situation, we try to write it down on this one page that we have so that we can go back to it and see all the things God has done. And then really what you said about memorizing the verses, because it needs to be planted in us so it can just come up in a season of not easily finding that gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah, I would also recommend having someone in your life that can hold you accountable to gratitude.
That's
Because
good.
I think I get stuck in my head, and then my husband has to sit and say things like, Caroline, God is still good, and let's look back on what he's done in our life. Or my mom say like, how can we shift our focus to something, or let's change the topic and talk about what good things are happening in our life, because it's easy, and misery loves company, right? So it's easy to find people to complain with me. That keeps me where I am. So when you can have people in your life to say, hey, let's refocus what we're talking about, or reframe that statement, or let's look at scripture together, because it can be hard when you're in it alone. So, well, wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies, and thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this, and if you want to hear more from our experts about all things mental health and physical health and spiritual health for women, then please like and subscribe. Have a blessed day.